Something ancient moved through Texas that day. Not just water, not just weather, but grief. Grief so vast, it swallowed cabins, camps, and families whole. Over 100 lives lost. Children, elders, mothers, sons, and somewhere in the stillness after the flood, silence turned sacred. This wasn't just a natural disaster. This was a collective heartbreak, a reckoning, a reminder that no one, no matter their race, background, or belief, is immune to tragedy. But when that tragedy strikes on soil soaked with a history of racial exclusion and silence, the echoes of the past come crashing into the present. And today, we listen. If you feel this episode already speaking to something in your spirit, pause for a moment and tap that like button. It helps this truth reach more people who need to hear it, and lets the algorithm know we're done being silent. This episode contains sensitive discussion surrounding loss of life, racial trauma, historical injustice, and natural disaster. Listener discretion is advised, especially for those personally affected by recent events in Texas, or anyone navigating grief and trauma. We hold space for you here. Before we begin, I want to pause and speak directly to the families and communities devastated by the recent floods in Texas, to the mothers who lost children, to the children who lost parents, to the friends still waiting for word, to the survivors carrying unimaginable grief. My heart is with you. My prayers are with you. My spirit stands beside you. We mourn not only the lives lost, but the futures that were taken too soon. May those who perished be remembered with love. May those still missing find peace or return home. And may those who survived find strength in the arms of their community and healing in time. This episode is not just about history, it's about humanity. And I will tell this story with the reverence it deserves. It was supposed to be a night of celebration. Fireworks, family, barbecue by the river. But on July 4th, 2025, the sky had other plans. The rain didn't trickle, it poured, pounding the Texas hill country with relentless force. In the dead of night, while most were asleep, the Guadalupe River swelled with unnatural speed. What was once a peaceful current surged into a monstrous wall of water, rising over 27 feet in just under an hour in some areas. By the time the sun came up on July 5th, it was too late. More than 130 people, many of them children, were gone. Entire families were swept away. Homes obliterated. Bodies missing. And all of it happening in the same counties where the land had, for generations, whispered warnings no one ever fully heard. One of the worst tragedies struck Camp Mystic in Kerr County, a place with a long, storied history nestled along the river's edge. Parents sent their daughters there for spiritual enrichment, sisterhood, and summer joy. But that night, 27 souls from that camp never made it home. Many are asking, why weren't the flood alerts sent out earlier? Why didn't Camp Mystic evacuate when the warnings came in? Why were there no sirens? And why did the very systems meant to protect falter in their hour of need? This wasn't just a natural disaster. It was the compounded failure of communication, preparation, and response, with human lives as the cost. And while no one can control the rain, we have to ask, who's responsible for the silence? And what stories were washed away before we ever got to hear them? There's something about land that remembers, even when people try to forget. Kerr and Kendall counties are nestled in what's often called the peaceful hill country of Texas. But peace, like silence, can be deceptive. These counties weren't built on innocence. They were shaped by power, exclusion, and quiet codes of who belonged and who didn't. Let's be clear, slavery existed here. Not on the scale of the Deep South or East Texas plantations, but it was here, in the form of domestic labor, forced farm work, and unpaid servitude. Human lives cataloged as property. Black hands clearing brush, cooking meals, and raising children who would grow up to call them less than. When the Civil War ended, these counties didn't throw open their doors. They closed them tighter. And out of that closeness grew something much darker, the Sundown Town era. Sundown towns weren't always marked by signs. Sometimes the signs were the silence, a look, a warning, a story passed quietly. Don't get caught here after dark. Kerrville, Bourne, Hunt. These towns might not appear in every textbook about racial terror, but for Black families, they carried an unspoken truth. You were not welcome to live here, and you were definitely not welcome to stay past sunset. There were no Black churches, no historically Black neighborhoods, no celebrations of Juneteenth, just invisible lines. And when you crossed them, you did so at your own risk. And so, generation after generation, Black families left or avoided these places altogether. Not because they didn't love the land, but because the land and the people on it refused to love them back. Even now, in 2025, census data reveals the residue of that exclusion. In Kerr County, less than 2% of the population is Black. In Kendall, even less. So, when this flood came crashing through these counties, through these historically exclusive towns, some of us felt something stirring beneath the headlines. It wasn't joy. It was recognition. An eerie awareness that the waters didn't just flood a river. They flooded a history that had long been buried. Camp Mystic wasn't just a summer camp. It was, and still is, a symbol of legacy, lineage, and exclusive belonging. Founded in 1927, Camp Mystic has operated for nearly a century as an elite Christian all-girls camp in Hunt, Texas, located on a prize bend of the Guadalupe River. Generation after generation of wealthy, white Southern families sent their daughters here, not just for campfires and canoe races, but to be molded into the kind of womanhood that would continue to uphold the same systems of privilege that built this region. But what most people don't say out loud is this: Camp Mystic was never built for everyone. It was built for a very specific kind of child, white, affluent, and well-connected. Its website may speak of sisterhood, tradition, and spiritual growth. But for decades, the deeper, unspoken truth remained. Black and brown girls were never truly invited in, not as campers, not as leaders, and certainly not as equals. The staff? Often brown-skinned women hired to cook, clean, or assist in silence. The campers? Daughters of oil executives, state legislators, and legacy Texas wealth. The environment? Policed, restricted, curated. This wasn't inclusion. This was insulation. And all of it profitable. Camp Mystic has made millions over the years through registration fees, private donations, and tax-exempt religious status. Some sources estimate annual revenues exceeding $4 million, with parents paying up to $6,000 per child for just a few weeks of what they call sacred sisterhood. That money flows in, but accountability, not so much. Let's talk about what happened on the night of the flood. At 1:14 in the morning, the National Weather Service issued a flash flood emergency. By 1:30, the water was already rising at a rate no human could outrun. Yet reports show that Camp Mystic did not immediately evacuate its campers. The reason? According to directors, they were monitoring the situation and relying on walkie-talkies instead of mobile alerts, because campers weren't allowed to have phones. Some might call that tradition. But in a crisis, it became a trap. By the time the alarms reached full urgency, cabins were already flooding. Girls were pulled from their beds in the dark, rushing through mud, chaos, and water. 27 lives gone, including the camp's co-owner and director, Dick Eastland, who had run Mystic for decades with his wife and business partner. His death was confirmed, but questions about their decision-making, disaster preparedness, and moral accountability remain. And now, grieving parents, mostly white, affluent, and politically connected, are demanding answers. They are asking how this could happen in a place so steeped in wealth, prayer, and tradition. But here's a hard truth. Protection is often assumed when privilege is present. Camp Mystic was never built with the expectation that catastrophe could reach them. Meanwhile, so many of us, those who grew up outside the gates, have always known that disaster doesn't discriminate, but neglect does. And now, the very river that framed their legacy has rewritten it. There are moments in life when the physical and the spiritual collide. Moments that shake us, not just in body, but in soul. The floods in Texas weren't just meteorological events. They were ancestral reminders. They were energetic ruptures. And for those of us who spirits at war, Nasta, we felt it. The Guadalupe River has flowed for centuries through Comanche land, through slave walk soil, through Jim Crow towns, and whispered threats after dark. That water has seen things. It has heard cries, covered footprints, and held secrets no history book will ever print. So when the rain came and the river rose in fury, some of us didn't just see water. We saw memory. We saw the bloodlines that were cut short by exclusion. We felt the pain of those who were pushed out of these towns with nowhere to run. We heard the voices of the enslaved, of the disappeared, of the invisible, and most of all, we heard the ancestors stirring. See, this wasn't about vengeance. This was about recognition, about a spiritual ledger that has long been out of balance. And when balance is denied long enough, nature answers. When communities build privilege atop pain, when they profit from stolen silence, when history is whitewashed and black grief is erased. The earth remembers, the water remembers, the spirits remember. And so, this flood didn't just take lives, it took illusions. It ripped open the facade of safety, wealth, and invincibility that institutions like Camp Mystic were built upon. It said, "You will not build your legacy on our bones without consequence. You will not erase us, then expect the land to protect you. You will not flood our history in silence without tasting the flood of our sorrow." And for those who still believe these are just coincidences, that it's just a storm or just climate change, I offer you this: coincidences don't echo this loud. There's something happening beneath our feet, and it's no longer subtle. It's loud, it's spiritual, and it's tired of being ignored. We are witnessing more than disaster. We are witnessing a reckoning. Let's start with what's been burning. The plantation fires, ashes that speak. In Louisiana, the Nottoway Plantation, the largest remaining antebellum mansion in the South, once romanticized as the White Castle, went up in flames. That same plantation was built by the hands of 155 enslaved people, their blood woven into every brick, their bones buried beneath the soil that generations danced upon in ignorance. People held weddings there. They drank mint juleps on balconies built by human suffering. They turned trauma into tourism, and now it's gone. Fire claimed it, and maybe, just maybe, it wasn't just faulty wiring, because the land knows, and sometimes the land returns what it's been forced to hold. Florida's forgotten dead. The gas plant lies beneath. Right here in Tampa Bay, where I live, another message came. This time by wind. On October 9th, 2024, Hurricane Milton roared across Florida with rage, tearing through infrastructure, uprooting the false security of concrete and steel. And when it hit Tropicana Field, that massive stadium built to host sports and generate millions, the storm ripped its dome wide open like it was paper. But here's the part people don't want to talk about. That stadium was built over a sacred crime scene. The gas plant district was once a thriving black neighborhood. Families, churches, small businesses, culture. Like so many places in America, it was stolen, bulldozed, buried. Not just physically, but spiritually. Beneath Tropicana Field lie the unmarked graves of black men, women, and children, displaced and discarded for the sake of progress. The city paved over our dead and called it development. So when Milton came and the stadium peeled open like a wound, I didn't just see weather. I saw a warning. You can't build empires on bones and expect peace. You can't erase generations and expect silence. You can't bury the truth and expect the storm to spare you. Ancestral unrest is real. Across the South, plantations have burned. Churches once built by enslaved people have been struck by lightning. Towns built on black erasure have seen sinkholes open, floodwaters rise, and wind peel back every illusion of control. People call it coincidence, but our spirits know better. This isn't just climate change. It's cosmic change. It's the land reclaiming truth. It's the ancestors saying, "We are not resting. You may not hear their names on the news. You may not find their graves on a map, but their energy is in the storms. Their grief is in the wind. Their memory is in the water. And whether by fire, flood, or force, they are speaking. The only question now is, will we finally listen? Take a breath. This isn't just a podcast episode. This is a remembrance, a reckoning, a ritual in real time. And if you've made it this far, I want you to pause, not just with your ears, but with your heart. Because the dead are listening. The ones who built this country, brick by brick, breath by breath, who never got headstones, just unmarked fields, who were drowned in rivers, whipped into silence, buried beneath shopping malls and stadiums. And now they are rising. So what do we do? When the ancestors are restless, when the storms come, not just from the sky, but from spirit, we honor them. For the ones who were washed away, to those lost in the floods of Texas, to the children of Camp Mystic, to the parents swept from their homes, to the names we may never hear, but whose souls were claimed by the river. We light a candle. We pour water on the ground. We whisper to the wind. We remember you. You are not forgotten. Say their names if you know them. Speak love to those you don't. Because remembrance is a form of resurrection, and silence has never protected us. For the ones buried beneath us, to the enslaved still beneath plantations, to the displaced of the gas plant district, to every soul who was paved over, zoned out, bulldozed, and erased, we see you. We feel you. We will not profit from your pain. We will build with your permission. Say aloud, your life mattered. Your death is not the end. Your story will be told. If you feel heaviness in your chest right now, you are not broken. You are remembering. Your spirit is responding to the vibration of truth. And that means you are awake. A small ritual for the living. If you have white flowers, offer one to the earth. If you have clean water, pour a few drops in the name of those who drowned without dignity. If you have a moment of silence, make it sacred, not empty, intentional. And if you are grieving for this or for anything, lay your hand on your chest and say, I am still here. I am still breathing. And I carry the ones who came before me with honor. Because grief is sacred. Because truth is sacred. Because you are sacred. There was a time when Black families were warned, don't be here after dark. That wasn't just a suggestion. It was a threat. Wrapped in Southern charm and backed by Southern violence, sundown towns weren't just places on a map. They were living grave sites of silence. They taught generations of Black children to shrink their light before dusk, to disappear, to make themselves small enough to survive. But what those towns never understood was this. Just because we vanished from view doesn't mean we disappeared from the earth. Our people didn't fade. We became whispers. We became watchers. We became the wind, waiting for the right moment to return. And now, that moment is here. What we are seeing across this nation isn't just climate. It's correction. It's the earth remembering. It's the ancestors stirring. The floodwaters in Texas didn't just rise. They tore through counties that once forced Black families out. The fire that consumed the Nottoway Plantation didn't just burn a building. It ignited a legacy built on the backs of the enslaved. When Hurricane Milton ripped the roof off Tropicana Field, a stadium built over the erasure of Tampa's Black gas plant district, it was more than wind. It was a wound opening. A rupture in the lie that these places were ever built on clean ground. The past was never buried. It was only waiting. Let's be clear. This is not chaos. This is alignment. This is the consequence of centuries of ignored blood, hidden graves, and silent stories. This is what happens when the spiritual debt becomes too heavy to hold. You cannot build plantations on stolen labor, destroy Black communities for profit, and pave over sacred burial sites without consequence. You cannot expect peace when the very foundations of your prosperity are built on pain. The water will rise, the fire will come, the wind will strip false legacies from the rooftops of privilege, and none of it is accidental. This isn't about revenge. It's about restoration. Our ancestors are not angry. They are awake. They are reclaiming what was stolen. They are reminding the world that nothing buried stays buried forever. And we, their descendants, feel that awakening in our bones. It's not just in the news. It's in our dreams, in our grief, in the way the air feels heavier when we speak their names aloud. We are not victims in this moment. We are vessels. We are the living embodiment of unfinished stories. We are what happens when the bloodline refuses to die in silence. The time of the Sundown Town is over. The real darkness now belongs to us. Not the kind you run from, but the kind that heals, that restores, that remembers. We are not waiting to be invited to the table anymore. We are building altars with the bones they tried to hide. We are not asking permission to tell the truth. We are flooding the silence with memory, with testimony, with power. And we are no longer afraid of the night, because when the sun goes down again, it won't be fear that rises. It will be us. We've walked through fire, flood, and buried memory today. And now we close, not in sorrow, but in sacred remembrance. To the spirits who rose in the floodwaters, in the fires, in the winds, we see you. We honor you. We call your names, even when we don't know them, because your existence mattered, and your transition shook this world into remembrance. You are not forgotten. You are not gone. You are guiding us now, not from beneath the soil, but from beside us, within us. To the survivors, still mourning, still rebuilding, still searching for peace in the middle of shattered routines, this space holds you. Your grief is holy. Your pain is valid. And even if no one else gives you the time or room to process what's been lost, you have permission here. Breathe. Cry. Pray. Scream. Be still. Whatever your spirit needs, take it. Because healing is not a straight line. It's a spiral. And it takes what it takes. To those who feel the stirrings in your bones, those of you who know this episode wasn't just education, but initiation, let me speak directly to you now. You are a seed bearer. You carry truth that this world tried to bury. You are the voice your ancestors dreamed would one day speak without fear. You are the storm wrapped in skin, the reckoning in human form, the living altar walking through a world desperate to forget. Protect that role, honor that calling, move with clarity and courage, and remember, not every battle needs a blade. Sometimes your presence in a place where your people were once exiled is a revolution. Sometimes your prayer in public is a protest. Sometimes just surviving with your spirit intact is the resistance they never planned for. Assay to the waters that cleansed and carried. Assay to the flames that purified. Assay to the winds that revealed what was hidden. Assay to the bones that won't stay buried. Assay to the living who refuse to forget. And as you return to your day, your work, your world, don't rush to shake this off. Let it linger. Let it change how you walk, how you speak, how you remember. Because once you know the land is alive, once you feel the spirit stirring, you can never pretend to sleep again. Thank you for listening to Life Points with Rhonda. May you walk in truth. May you stand in legacy. And may your spirit never bow to silence. Until next time, with love, with fire, and with the full weight of memory behind me, this is Rhonda. And this is the work. Thank you for watching. If you found value in today's video, I invite you to take your journey even further with my podcast, Life Points with Rhonda, where we dive deep into relationships, personal growth, and the wisdom that helps you thrive. Tune in on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and all major streaming platforms for powerful insights that can transform your life. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more uplifting content like this video, and share it with someone who needs to hear this message today. Stay connected with me on Instagram, Facebook, and Patreon. Life Points with Rhonda. Visit my website at lifepointswithrhonda.com for exclusive content, coaching, and more. Thank you for your support. Until next time, take care and stay phenomenal.